What? Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for the Orns observation on the upcoming fans forum to be held on Thursday. That's right, Thursday coming. I mean, the time just flies so quickly, doesn't it? My gosh, the season's been over for Watford, and now we come to the fans forum coming up this Thursday at London Colney, and that is at the training ground, of course. And Watford will have their two most noteworthy officials in front of the fans coming up on Thursday. And that, of course, would be the owner of Watford Football Club, Gino Pozzo, and the chairman and CEO of Watford Football Club, Scott Duxbury. And they are going to be there. At least we believe they will be. We certainly believe Scott will be there. We will see if the owner himself shows up. I actually think that Gino Pozzo will show up at this forum. But do you know who will not show up at this forum? Journalists. Journalists will not be at this forum this coming Thursday at London Colney. A fans forum is taking place with the owner, if he shows, the chairman and CEO. I expect he'll be there. The fans, some of whom will be present, but no journalists. No journalists at all. And that's the problem. When some of us, including yours truly, call for transparency, we mean not just the people inside the club. We mean people who are running forums that involve the club, forums that involve members of the club, officials in the club, forums or fora that involve fan engagement. There needs to be full transparency. That transparency extends to the event itself. It extends to people who are covering the event, people who should be in the room. Now, look, for me personally, I want to see journalists in the event. And I don't believe that journalists should be banned from any event. I mean, if there is an event out there that requires top secret information, like you're dealing with politicians talking about very sensitive things, and the press shouldn't be there, that's one thing. Now, this is a fans forum. This involves fans of a football club. And people running fan forums, I don't care who they are, should never be banning journalists from covering those in real time. And that certainly means that they shouldn't be banning Andrew French or anyone else at the Watford Observer. That sends a very bad message. It sends a message that you are willing to cauterize one of the most important publications to the town of Watford, and quite frankly, to the football club itself. The Watford Observer is synonymous with Watford Football Club. You, on many occasions, could go to Watford Football Club at Vicarage Road and see that wonderful sign that you saw on the Rookery end. Watford Observer, always at the top. There'd be a clock that would sit alongside those words. And then there'd be those words after that that would say, tells more, sells more. Well, the Watford Observer, who recently lost one of its family members in Oliver Phillips just a few months ago, earlier this year. The Watford Observer, whom has covered this club diligently, honestly, and fervently for many decades. The Watford Observer, who has in its stead good people like Andrew French, someone who's been involved with the club for many years, someone who is an integral voice, someone who is a vocal fan, a passionate fan, a loyal fan of this football club, and someone who does his job damn well. I've talked about Andrew French's work all season long. Andrew French cares. Andrew French cares about this club. Andrew French is a fan and a supporter of this club. And all Andrew French or anyone else at the Watford Observer wants to do is cover an event that involves Watford and their fan base and the two people who are the current stewards of this club, and cover those events in real time, document those events in real time. That is what they wish to do. And the people running this forum have now lost a lot of credibility in terms of transparency. And you lose credibility when you start to say, we don't want journalists in the room. We're concerned about things being leaked. We're concerned about things being spun a different way. Listen, I don't care if the national press is in or out. I'd rather the national press be present. The more established press that can cover an event, the better. That's the way I look at it. If you, as someone running a forum, want to say these press persons aren't allowed on the national level, that's your call. I might disagree with that, but you're running the forum. It's your call. But what I certainly also disagree with is covering a local event like this one, covering a local event at London Colney. You're not going to allow Andrew French and the Watford Observer in the room? See, that doesn't fly. It doesn't make sense. Andrew French hasn't betrayed the trust of Watford fans. In fact, I would dare say that 97, 98% of the Watford fan base, the vast majority, I'd say, of the Watford Football Club fan base likes the work that Andrew French does. From time to time, some people in the fan base may have their disagreements with Andrew French and what he writes, and they may see it differently. I've had some things that Andrew has written. There's some things that I haven't necessarily agreed with, one or two occasions. I've pointed them out here. But Andrew French has done a good job. And one thing Andrew French has not done is betrayed the trust of Watford fans. He's been honest. He's been direct. He's been forthright. And he's done some very good work with interviews he's done. He is someone who the vast majority of the Watford fan base trusts. And if you now go ahead this coming Thursday and ban journalists, and certainly if you ban Andrew French and the Watford Observer at large from being in the room, you are now betraying the trust of the fans. You are now doing that. Listen, I don't pretend to speak for Watford Football Club fans. In fact, I would say that there's a lot of fans perhaps who disagree with some of the things I say when it comes to Watford. I don't say these things to win anybody's approval. I say these things because these are the things I see, and I will always call it like I see it. Maybe there are fans who agree with what I'm saying, and perhaps I might speak for a few of those fans or maybe not, but I don't presume to. I don't presume to. I may speak for some of them. But one thing we cannot do is go down this very dangerous road of excluding press. And really, the reasons for doing it aren't solid. Journalists can spin things. Some journalists do spin things. But I've not seen Andrew French in his writing spin something in a way that's disingenuous. I've not seen that happen from him. In general, I've not seen that from him. And as a trusted voice, Andrew French, and as a trusted newspaper that has covered this club, as I said before, diligently and fairly over many decades, that particular newspaper's got to be allowed in. Got to be allowed in. We just lost Oliver Phillips a few weeks back, and you are now insulting his memory. I think he would have had some very sharp words to say about the fan bases or some of the fans who are running this forum. And I don't deny that the people running the forum have done very good work, very hard work, tireless work. It takes a lot to put a forum like this together. You're dealing with thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans, and you have to strategize the way forward with that fan base. When you're cultivating meetings like this, no one, specifically myself, is going to deny that that takes a lot of thought, a lot of planning, a lot of hard work, and a lot of balancing. It's a delicate balancing act. But what isn't a balancing act, what really tips the scales in the very wrong direction, is to do the very things that some of us as Watford Football Club fans and supporters have absolutely been against when it comes to the club doing those things, the very things that the club itself has been doing that has raised the need for a fan forum in the first place, is to be exclusive and to exclude people. That's what this club has been doing. The club has been excluding people. And that's why many of us as Watford fans have been saying that there needs to be a meeting. There needs to be accountability. Some of us are not going to the Vic anymore because we've had enough. Ejecting fans from Vicarage Road, excluding fans from having a voice, not communicating with fans. And now you've got some fans running a forum who now are saying that one of the chief voices that disseminates and communicates information to Watford fans is not allowed in the forum. So now you're excluding people too. You're doing exactly what the club has done and what many of the fans who've criticized the club for doing this do not want to see any more of. That's a big problem. Make no mistake about it. You cannot be excluding journalists from a forum because you might be worried about them spinning something a certain way. And it's not even that there's going to be 10 journalists in the room. There's probably only going to be, what, 5? You'll have some local newspapers, maybe some local papers that are just outside Watford. And you'll certainly have the Watford Observer, and then might be 1 or 2 members of the national press. You might have the Athletic in the room. You know, you might have Adam Leventhal of the Athletic. Adam Leventhal's done good work. Why not allow him in? He's a Watford supporter, last time I checked. Peter Drury is a Watford supporter. I know he does work here in the United States with USA Network and the Premier League. Peter Drury's been a Watford season ticket holder forever. Why not allow Peter Drury in the room? I'm against this banning journalists or not inviting journalists. I don't care what you want to call it. Whether you want to call it excluding journalists, not inviting them, banning them, you know, not inviting them, excluding them. It's the same thing. They're not allowed in. And that means a key portion of this fan base's trusted voice is not being allowed in. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Simple as. You can't call yourself a credible fan base run, fan base led group, and you're cutting off a voice that many of the Watford Football Club supporters trust. You can't. At some point, some credibility is going to be lost somewhere. This action needs to be reversed. I really do hope that those who are running this forum, who have done the hard work to get it together and put it together, I really hope that they do an about face here and that they do a 180 here. And I'm not talking an Eric Bristow 180. I'm talking about a complete turnaround and allow journalists in. Like I say, I really would like any journalist of any stature and respect to be involved in covering this, because again, I believe you have to have that access. But if you're not going to do that, then for heaven's sakes, allow the Watford Observer in the room. You might want to do that because, again, if you allow the Watford Observer in the room, then it shows Watford Football Club fans that you do have credibility and that you do have cachet and that you do have sensitivity and respect for the Watford Observer and journalists like Andrew French. It's just incomprehensible that you would not allow any journalist to be in that room. This is the 21st century. This is not 1933 or 1936. This is the 21st century. The Watford Observer has been around for a long time. And you only engender more division, more dissension, and more distrust if you do exactly what the club itself is doing, exactly what fans of this club want to stop. So please, I really do think you should reconsider this decision and do an about face. Look, whether I come to this forum or not, listen, this is not an invite-only forum. It is a lottery forum. And those running the forum will pick who they want, or they'll raffle it at random or whatever. So at this point, if I'm in, I'm in. If I'm not, I'm not going to sit here and mope about it. I have ideas to improve this club. And no matter what happens at this forum, there has to be more fora. They have to be more. There has to be more fora. There has to be more of them. And you cannot continue to ban journalists from them. What, the next one that happens, you're going to ban journalists again and again? It's a really improper thing, and it has to end, and it needs to be reversed right now. This has been the Orns observation.